Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Lamborghini Aventador J at max in multiplayer in Asphalt 9. Now I have made a couple of videos about this car before, but they were not my races, and I just recently maxed this car with all upgrades and import parts applied, except for a few epics, and so I thought it would be good to make a video about it. And boy am I glad I did, because honestly the races that I got with this car are some of the closest and most intense ones that I've had in quite a while now. So please give the video a thumbs up if you would like to see more crazy races such as these, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. And at 36,000 subscribers, I will be uploading a new Asphalt 9 music video, and we're less than 250 subscribers away. In my community tab, I posted a picture showing the thumbnail, but with the words pixelated for the title of the song. I'm sure it'll be pretty hard to guess, but if you've been in one of my streams recently, at one point someone gave a suggestion for an Asphalt 9 song. And I took that suggestion to heart, let's just say. That's the last bit of information I'm going to give about it for the time being. But yes, 36,000 subscribers, it's coming. And we've got some other cool stuff coming soon as well relating to the channel for the holiday season. So be sure to stay tuned for that. So we're coming up toward the end of our first race here, and it is definitely better to wall ride around that corner in a lot of cars instead of drifting than shockwaving. I mean, I've passed so many people there, including that Porsche. Now, he was able to shockwave there, land on top of me, and push me to the side, but since it was Unbreakable season, he wasn't able to knock me down, and thus we come in first. And if you think that's close, you should see the rest of them as well, because our next race is actually on the exact same track. Yeah, that happened somehow, and it turned out to be just as close. So some of you may be wondering, why am I uploading a video about this car now? I mean, it's not really new, there's nothing really much going on about it right now, but I've decided that if there's any cars in the past that I have only made videos about with races from other people, if I'm able to max them myself, I would like to make more videos about them so I can show you me driving the car as well. And this car in particular is one that wasn't thought to be especially great when it first came out, but it has actually turned out to be a pretty good car. It's not an A-class king, but it's very high up there. I faced some Max Huayras in this car, some of which you will see later on in the video, and this car actually put up a very good competition to them. The Huayra is still better, don't get me wrong, but I think the Aventador J is a car that a lot more people are maxing nowadays, or at least more than when it first came out, because when it first came out, people weren't really talking about it, but now I'm seeing it all over multiplayer. It's like one of the most common cars to see in multiplayer, along with the Huayra and the Huracan, which I would say are probably two of the other most popular ones in Platinum League. And here again, I passed two people around that turn because I did the wall ride and they didn't, allowing me to again pull out another win on this track through a single trick on both of them. I would definitely recommend trying out this car in multiplayer, especially if you might not have for a while. I think you might be a bit surprised. And in that race, actually, all of the cars were Aventadors. There were two Aventador Js, including my own, and then the Aventador SV as well. And in this race too, we have got another Aventador J. I told you they were popular, and here we are facing a Koenigsegg Jesko. Yes, in Platinum League, unfortunately, that still happens. I thought Gameloft said that they were going to make it such that you would not face people outside of your league anymore like that. Seems like that did not end up happening. I hope it does though, because that would be really nice. Whereas here, the Jesko is not doing too great. I know that once you get toward the very tip top of Platinum League and you are facing some of the more skilled players, those Jeskos and everything can be very potent, and it can become extremely difficult actually to get to Legend League. I've struggled with that quite a bit in the past few seasons myself, but I definitely still prefer this over Rush seasons because at least it's not boring. You can definitely say that for sure. So when you're not in a super fast car, it is better to take the route that I did here, because as you could see, this Aventador J was ahead of me going up to that ramp by a good bit. In fact, he took the slightly longer route, which is better in high top speed cars, which these are not. Thus I'm able to pull ever so slightly ahead of him to beat him, and it looks like the Jesko is nowhere in sight. And by the way guys, I did co-host ESL Mobile Open Season 6 Asphalt 9 Finals this past weekend. You can find the archive of that up on the Asphalt channel now. It was actually live streamed too there at that time, so that's pretty cool. So in this race, we had a very interesting development. Keep your eye on the Apollo here. He shockwaves at the very beginning of the race after already using up his beginning nitro. And if you keep your eye on him, you'll see that he continues to do this. He just continues to use Shockwave whenever he doesn't actually have enough nitro to do so. And I went back after the race and I watched from his perspective, and yes, he is indeed a hacker. And I got a little bit ahead of him in this case because generally hackers hack because they don't drive very well, so they do that to make up for it. You guys know the drill, so I'm able to get ahead of him here. But with the Shockwave, the Apollo is actually a pretty powerful car because it's faster than my car. It goes about 6 miles per hour faster than the J, I think 240 versus 234 miles per hour. But let me just lay it out simply. Don't hack. If you want to get good at this game, you need to practice with it. No amount of hacks are going to make up for that because in the end, you are just going to end up losing to players who have actually put in the time to learn the game. And you will most likely get banned too if you hack, so there's that as well. Anyway, in this case, we did end up beating him, as well as this Huracan too, and we're now going to be facing 2 maxed Huayras on Shanghai. Now, I only have a 4-star Huayra, and some of you may be confused as to why I haven't maxed mine yet, given that it's such a good car. The packs for it have always come out at bad times, where I have had other things going. Now, likely next time an Unleashed for it comes out, I'll be able to max it with no problem. I think around a third of the way to fully maxing it, going from 5 to 6 star. It's still very good at 5 star, but yeah, that's why you won't see me in a maxed Huayra in multiplayer, at least for a while until I'm able to max it, because I really do want to do that. Now here, I had no problems flat spinning right next to him. He's my teammate, RPM nothing here, because it's Unbreakable season. You can't knock each other down. You can flat spin all over each other, shockwave into each other all day, every day, and nothing's going to happen. Of course, you can still wreck. Unbreakable doesn't mean you can't wreck. That would be a pretty interesting season, I think, if you couldn't wreck. I don't even know what would happen there. Also, would be pretty cool to see a season where the whole point was to knock down other people, just to have as like a fun little thing on the side. But please don't make us pay 200 tokens to get into that one, Gameloft. So we come up to the end of this race here, take the victory, staying just ahead of these Huayras around the final turns to come in first place. And I actually met RPM Nothing here quite a few times in this season. It was very fun to race him, and we face him again in this next race, where he is again in his Huayra. We've also got a Huracan and a Lamborghini Egoista in this race. Now, one thing that you probably will notice is that the Aventador J's acceleration is not the greatest. I mean, the Huracan and the Egoista obviously have better acceleration than it. The J's acceleration is pretty comparable, I would say, to that of the Huayras, and it's got pretty good drifting too. I must say, I'm pretty proud of the way I took those turns at the beginning there. So we've just got this Egoista ahead of us. I knew that he was going to be a pretty tough one to beat, because he does go a few miles per hour faster than me. I would say that is one of the Aventador J's biggest weak spots, is its top speed. While it isn't terrible, of course, 234 isn't bad, even by Class A standards. It's just not great, and so you're going to have more trouble than maybe in some other cars, beating some of the higher top speed cars, especially ones in Class S. Thankfully, the Egoista isn't all that much faster, and we're able to stay ahead of him by taking that jump by the train, and now we just have to make it through this final section without falling into the water or randomly landing on our top, both of which have happened to me at different times on this track. Thankfully, none of that happens, usually doesn't, but still, and we come in first place, reaching 1700 rating. These last 2 races were back-to-back, and I will tell you, my heart was beating pretty fast in there, and we are now into our final race, which is against another Aventador J, as well as a Huayra, who is driven by the same guy who drove the Egoista in the previous race. Now, this specific variant of the Himalayas is one of the newer ones, at least it wasn't there when the game first came out, and I never quite learned it as well as some other people, I think. So this one I feel slightly less comfortable on. However, I feel like I have gotten better at it over time, and here you see really the issue with this car's top speed, not really allowing it to catch up to cars ahead of it unless they somehow slow down little bits, which thankfully the guy ahead of me does seem to be doing. And now for my final review about this car. It's a pretty good one. I would say probably worth spending some credits in the Legend Store to get blueprints for it if you have it close to like 4 or 5 stars or something like that. Probably not worth spending tokens on at this point, but it is just an overall very good car. It's got pretty good stats in all aspects. The nitro is good, the acceleration's okay, the top speed's okay, and the drifting and handling are both pretty good as well. It just feels really nice to drive generally. And it looks pretty sweet too. I have always liked Lamborghinis, not as much as Mustangs though. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!